I pledge to be a leader and not a follower. I pledge to do community service.
I pledge not to instigate.
I pledge to community service.
I pledge to be a good role model and help the kids of Cambridge become successful adults.
I pledge to listen to less violent music.
Peace is a state of mutual harmony between people or groups of people, especially in personal relationships. One of the reasons why Pledge for Peace was started was to try to establish this definition of peace and also help grieve or celebrate the lives that have touched these people. In this video, we show the heavy history of Pledge for Peace, why it was started, and what it means to the people over the short time period it has been going on.
Pledge for Peace started in 2008.
The year of our graduation.
One of our teens, Lucian Crystalline, was accidentally killed by a shotgun. And his group of friends that were very close at Frisoli and close to the Leaders in Action felt that it was important to spread the word about the importance of anti-violence. And they really wanted to make sure that Lucian's memory lived on, not only for who he was, but to make sure that he didn't die in vain.
We were really determined to do it because of Lucian, and it was in remembrance of him, so we all got together, and although we didn't have a big group of people to help with, the people that were there that started with us did a really good job, and we stayed focused.
We knew the point, but we just didn't know how to really go by planning it. But it was pretty difficult, but we got through it. We did it.
Essentially, it was a group of kids coming to me saying, how do we put this together? Us going to the high school and putting it together, having the meetings here with LIAs, and really making this something that was a culminating event of not only Frisoli and LIAs, but of the other kids at Ridge.
The way that I see it being successful was the fact that his mom was there. That was just the biggest part. I didn't care who was there. I didn't care if we had a whole bunch of strangers that wanted to know what was going on there. I didn't care how many people showed up. I just mainly wanted his family there. And I feel like it was successful because his family was there.
You know, it's going to be his 4th year now, and I think it's amazing how much art is involved in it. There's been performances. They did a mural of Lucian's hat. They have a mural down there that was part of a live performance of these guys came in and spray painted this mural all day. You can watch it be created. In the last year we did the outdoor one. It involves more and more teens that are actually, you know, getting skills at spray painting and graffiti, and I think it's been tremendously successful. The community's gotten involved, and I think it's kind of turning into an East Cambridge event.
Most powerful memory was when we showed his mom the art installation and it had like his pictures in it. So I feel like that was just like my most powerful memory. We all came together at that point.
I think we've had a couple of hard years at Frisoli, and just thinking about just this idea of loss and what loss means to us and what do you learn from loss. And I think losing Lucian as a teen and as a youth in our community was such a hard thing for us to get through and such a painful time. Then losing Steve, in not necessarily the same way, but still it left a hole. And I think it's turned into a way of not only remembering those who have died in some sort of violent act, but also remembering those that have impacted our life that we've lost in many different ways.
The Pledge for Peace is connected with Steve because it was like one of these things where it was like one of the first opportunities for people to mourn and to grieve like together and openly, you know. And I think it's important for young people to be able to do that. So, you know, I think the same function that Pledge for Peace had for Lucian, it was a bit of the same function for when Steve passed away. And people were able to kind of sit there and listen to people say goodbye, and, you know, people got emotional about it, and, you know, that's all part of the grief process. And to be able to do that as a community, I think is, it's not something you see every day.
I think one of the things that I appreciated about Lucian is he was had such an amazing intelligence about him that he kept pretty quiet. He kept pretty hidden.
He was a very funny kid and very smart and determined, and he knew what he wanted to do, and he was going to do whatever he had to do to get where he wanted to be.
His charisma, his friendliness, the way he used to make people just laugh, and how he could just look serious. I mean, sometimes like he could turn a serious conversation into a joke.
He was a really cool and smart kid, and he was really nice, and he was really cool to talk to.
When we would kind of talk about Steve and share memories about him, it was always like, you know, whether it was always just about sitting there and having a conversation with him, and you could always sit there and talk with him about whatever.
Steve had a very selfless way about him that you wouldn't always see all the time, but he had a very compassionate heart and would do essentially anything for you if you needed it. And I think that's something that is important.
Pledge for Peace was started due to the tragic end of Lucian Crystalline's life. The first Pledge for Peace was a grieving process for all those whose lives were touched by Lucian or loss of a significant loved one. It is important that we keep Pledge for Peace going and see how long we can keep it going, since it only takes one heartbeat at a time to make a difference in someone's life.
I pledge to spread my love from Cambridge to Weston.
I pledge to be a more courageous person for peace.
I pledge to try to be more understanding of other people's positions and where they're coming from.
I pledge to manage my anger better.
I pledge to watch my language.